Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into maybe the biggest question ever asked, the one everyone, everywhere, eventually thinks about. What happens when we die? It's not just some abstract thought experiment, is it? It's like the most profound thing humans wrestle with. We've looked at a whole range of views, religious, philosophical, scientific, to try and make sense of it all for you.
Exactly. Our mission here isn't to give the answer because, well, who could? It's more about understanding why people land where they do, why the strong belief, why the firm disbelief, and, all the nuance in between.
Okay, let's start with that big divide. Conviction on one side, needing proof on the other. For someone with faith, belief isn't about proof in the scientific sense, is it?
Not at all. It's grounded in faith, religious teachings, scripture, and often very powerful personal spiritual experiences.
And that belief system offers something huge psychologically.
Oh, absolutely. It gives hope, first off, meaning to life and maybe even suffering, a sense of ultimate justice that things will be set right eventually.
And the big one, reunion, the hope of seeing loved ones again.
Exactly. That's incredibly powerful comfort. And it's often supported, by a whole community, by tradition, by sacred text passed down for generations.
Right. So then let's flip that. The skeptic. What's their starting point?
Evidence. Pure and simple. Their approach is usually rooted in rationalism and empiricism. They need data they can see, measure, test, verifiable stuff.
Which naturally leads them to think consciousness is tied to the physical brain, right?
Pretty much. The common view is physicalism mind is what the brain does. So when the brain stops, well,
the mind stops. Game over. Makes sense from a purely material standpoint. The big hurdle is just zero verifiable evidence for a soul or anything non-physical sticking around.
Exactly. No ghost in the machine that's ever been detected, scientifically speaking.
Okay, but here's something interesting we found. Even committed non-believers, people who are intellectually convinced it's lights out, why do they still seem fascinated? Why look into things like near-death experiences?
That's the fascinating part, isn't it? It's this tension. Intellectually, they might accept oblivion, but that deep, primal human fear of not being anymore. That's powerful.
So investigating NDEs or consciousness is a way to, poke holes in their own certainty?
Maybe partly. Or it's intellectual curiosity meeting that existential dread. They want to be sure they haven't missed something. Even if their framework says there's nothing to miss, the human mind wants to explore every possibility, right? It's grappling with the idea, what if materialism isn't the whole story? Even if they think it probably is.
Okay, so non-believer isn't just one thing. There are different flavors of rejecting the afterlife. What are the main schools of thought there?
Good point. They're definitely not monolithic. You've got, first, what you might call strong atheism. This isn't just, it's an active assertion. There is no afterlife. Consciousness ends with the brain. Full stop. Eternal oblivion.
Based on the current lack of evidence for anything else.
Precisely. Then there's the broader philosophical framework, naturalism or physicalism. This is the view that everything comes from natural causes and properties. No room for the supernatural.
So consciousness has to be physical because everything is physical.
Exactly. It's a product of biological processes. Where the biology ends, the product ends. There's no non-physical you that could carry on because, in their view, non-physical things just aren't part of reality's furniture. They'd ask, what would it even be made of? How would it interact?
Right. The mechanism question. It needs a physical basis to function.
That's the core idea. Mind is a function, not some separate substance.
And then there's humanism. That takes a different tack altogether, doesn't it? More about this life.
Completely. Secular humanism really focuses on human reason, ethics, finding meaning and purpose here and now, the afterlife question, often seen as, maybe irrelevant, or even a distraction.
A distraction from making this life better.
Yeah. Why worry about a potential next life when there's so much to do in this one? For humanists, legacy isn't about personal survival after death. It's about the impact you have, the lives you touch, the contribution you make to human progress. That's your immortality, in a sense.
That's a really powerful way to frame it. Okay, so we have strong belief, strong disbelief. Now let's get into that fuzzy, fascinating middle ground between total certainty and total rejection.
Right, and this is where a lot of people probably find themselves wrestling with it. This is the territory of agnosticism.
Which basically says,
we don't know. I mean, we can't know. Agnostics highlight the limits of human knowledge. We don't have the tools or the senses to definitively prove or disprove something like an afterlife. So they remain open, embrace the mystery, rather than committing either way.
And related to that, there's the idea of a symbolic afterlife, right? This isn't about literally continuing, but something else.
Exactly, it's metaphorical. Your afterlife is how you're remembered. Your actions, your creations, your influence on others, that's what endures. Your ideas continue, your impact ripples out.
So the individual me might be gone, but the effects of my life persist in the world, in other people's minds and actions.
Precisely. It's a way to think about continuation without literal survival. And you sometimes see this blend into ideas like pantheism or cosmic consciousness.
Where the self dissolves back into everything.
Sort of. The individual ego ends, but your stuff, your energy, your consciousness, whatever you want to call it, rejoins the universe, becomes part of the whole again. Less personal survival, more returning to the source.
Okay, let's connect this to the big traditions. Pretty much every major religion offers some kind of answer, doesn't it? And they seem to fall into a couple of main categories.
Broadly speaking, yes. You can think of them as linear versus cyclical views of time and existence after death.
Linear being, one life, then something eternal.
Generally, yes. That's dominant in the Abrahamic faiths. Christianity talks about resurrection, a final judgment, and then eternal life in either heaven or hell. The resurrection of Jesus is central, the ultimate promise.
And Islam also has a day of judgment, right? Deeds weighed, leading to Jannah paradise, or Jahannam, which is hell. Very clear outcomes.
Very clear, defined eternal states based on this one life. Now, Judaism is interesting because historically there's been more diversity. Some ancient groups, like the Sadducees, didn't even believe in an afterlife or resurrection.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. But other groups, like the Pharisees, strongly believed in Olam Haba, the world to come, and resurrection, especially in the Messianic age. So even within that linear framework, you see debate and evolution of ideas. Less focus sometimes on detailed maps of heaven and hell, more on collective destiny or the world to come.
Fascinating. Okay, so that's linear. What about the cyclical views? That brings us to religions like Hinduism.
Exactly, the dharmic religions. In Hinduism, the core concept is samsara reincarnation, a cycle of death and rebirth.
Driven by karma, right? Your actions determine your next life.
Precisely. The quality of your actions, your karma, dictates the circumstances of your next birth. The idea is there's an enduring soul, the Atman, that moves from life to life, carrying this karmic residue.
And the goal isn't just a better rebirth, it's getting off the wheel entirely.
Right. The ultimate aim is moksha, liberation from the whole cycle of samsara, achieving union with the ultimate reality, Brahman.
Okay, then Buddhism. Also cyclical, but with a major twist.
A huge twist. Buddhism also teaches rebirth based on karma, this chain of cause and effect. But, and this is radical, it rejects the idea of a permanent unchanging soul, an Atman.
Wait, how does rebirth work if there's no soul being reborn?
It's subtle. Think of it less as a thing being reborn and more like a process continuing.
Right.
Like lighting one candle from another. The flame passes on the consciousness, the karmic tendencies, but it's not the same candle. The self is seen as an illusion, a collection of temporary components.
Ah, okay, so it's the pattern or the energy that continues, not a fixed identity.
That's a good way to put it. And the goal in Buddhism is nirvana, which isn't a place like heaven, but a state. The extinguishing of the illusion of self, the end of suffering, breaking free from the cycle entirely.
Wow, okay, so we've got belief, disbelief, mystery, linear paths, cyclical paths. It seems universal, this question. Why does it matter so much to literally everyone, whatever they conclude?
Well, for believers, it's often foundational. It gives life ultimate meaning, context, a moral compass. Suffering makes sense, justice is guaranteed, death isn't the end. It provides profound comfort and a framework for ethical behavior rewards and punishments,
And for non-believers, does rejecting it make it unimportant?
Quite the opposite, actually. Rejecting an afterlife radically intensifies the value of this life. If this is all there is, it becomes incredibly precious.
So the focus shifts entirely to finding meaning, purpose, connection now.
Exactly. Living fully, ethically, making an impact here. Ethics come from reason, empathy, human well-being, not divine command or future consequences. It makes our choices right now feel incredibly urgent and significant.
So if we boil it down, the divergence comes from fundamentally different starting points.
I think so. Religions often affirm an afterlife because it answers those deep human needs for meaning, justice, overcoming death anxiety. And it's rooted in what they accept as revealed truth or sacred tradition.
While non-believers reject it because their commitment is to a scientific, empirical way of knowing, and afterlife claims just don't meet that standard of evidence.
Right. There's no verifiable, repeatable proof. Accepting it would mean abandoning that core principle of needing evidence.
Okay, so to wrap up, we have conviction based on faith and experience. We have skepticism demanding proof. And we have that whole uncertain middle space, agnosticism, symbolic interpretations, embracing the mystery.
And maybe the most important takeaway isn't the answer. The idea of life after death, it acts like a giant mirror for humanity, doesn't it? It reflects back our deepest fears about oblivion, about meaninglessness, and also our deepest hopes for justice, for connection, for continuation.
So the power isn't in the destination, but in the journey the question forces us on.
I think that's it. Whether you believe, disbelieve, or just wonder. The question makes you confront what it means to live a good life, a meaningful life, knowing that it's finite.
Think about that, how the search itself, the grappling with mortality and meaning, might actually be the thing that connects us all, much more than any final answer ever could.